Yo, we are back with another should you pull video. Today we're going to be talking about Moldir. We'll do the usual, talk about the pros and cons, give her a pull value rating, as well as who I think should or should not be pulling for her. As always, disclaimer, you should pull for the characters you like the most regardless of meta because it will just make the game more enjoyable. Alright, let's start with her pros. Moldir has a +1 AP. Wow, another character with +1 AP just like Flutterpage and Olive. She must be pretty good then, huh? Well, her skill 1 does give her +1 AP and it also inflicts Passion Drain, so whenever your teammates attack that enemy with Passion Drain, your teammates will gain extra Moxie. Having +1 AP is very helpful because it allows you to have an extra move, and it feels especially nice in ultimate teams where you have to spend a lot of your moves to use your ultimates, or else they start to kind of overcrowd your spellbook. Now for her buffs. She in a way has a stacking mechanic like Flutterpage to boost her buffing potential. So Flutterpage stacks are called Gust stacks. Moldir stacks are called Readiness stacks. They do have different ways of stacking as well. But just to give you an idea of how crazy these buffs could potentially be, at P0 Moldir with max stacks of Readiness, she can potentially give your team a plus 100% ultimate damage bonus, along with about 54% ultimate crit damage and plus 30% crit rate when casting ultimates, with excess crit rate converting to crit damage. Yeah, that's a lot of really good buffs, right? Now onto the bad news, onto her cons. Getting those stacks of Readiness that provides those crazy buffs is not very easy. In order to gain these stacks of Readiness, your teammates need to consume Moxie. Very important, consume Moxie. Basically, her stacks can go up to 50 stacks, but you can only get 1 Readiness stack per 1 Moxie consumed. Each stack only lasts 3 rounds. So if you kind of think about it, if you want to have the maximum buffs at 50, you will somehow have to consume 50 Moxie in 3 rounds to upkeep her buffs. 50 Moxie means you need to cast 10 Moxie ultimates from Recoletta in 3 rounds. Or 50 Moxie also means casting 10 normal 5 Moxie ultimates in 3 rounds. 10 normal 5 Moxie ultimates in 3 rounds. That's crazy. That is very hard to do, especially since you need to build up Moxie by using your incantations, and then you have to use the ultimates to proc the Moxie consumed in order to gain the stack. So that is going to be a lot of AP needed as well. Realistically, you are not going to reach the maximum stacks usually. Reaching the last threshold for the stacking mechanic that gives the extra crit rate and excess crit damage conversion is at 30 stacks, okay? Which is a little easier getting there instead of 50 stacks, but still, that requires a lot of Moxie consumed. That is, again, 10 Moxie ultimates from Recoletta in 3 rounds, or 6 normal 5 ultimates, or 5 Moxie ultimates in 3 rounds. That is still a lot, and that is why, despite her amazing buffs and the +1 AP, her stacking mechanic is much harder to fulfill and max out versus Flutterpage's. One last thing to note here is that the AC Collab Assassin team has an ultimate version of that team, but they cannot make use of Moldir at all because Ezio, Cassandra, Alexios do not use Moxie, meaning they are anti-synergistic with Moldir. They cannot work with Moldir, unfortunately. So those are the biggest pros and cons of Moldir. She has amazing buffs, but due to how her stacking mechanic works, it is just very hard to achieve and maintain those buffs. With all of that into consideration, I've come to my pull value rating for Moldir at a 3.5 out of 5. I would say it's on the higher end of a 3.5. You can also say it's a very low 4.0 out of 5. I think for now, I'm just going to rate her in the above average tier here, just because at the end of the day, she is still a support, and you know how support characters age slightly better than the DPS characters. She also has +1 AP in her kit as well, so that is pretty valuable going forward. But as of right now, there aren't that many characters that can fully help Moldir get many stacks quickly, in return providing more buffs to the team. I think maybe eventually when better teammates for her come out in the future, she could potentially find another place on other teams, and her value could go up even higher then. Okay, on to who I think should or should not pull. Well, first of all, if you have Recoletta, then I think you can consider Moldir. If you do not have Recoletta, it will be very hard to bring out the best out of Moldir. It's a strange situation where the support Moldir really wants to be played with Recoletta, but Recoletta doesn't really need Moldir. She needs Melania more. I think if you have Recoletta, but none of her best supports, such as Melania or Pickles or something like that, then you can probably consider picking up Moldir to support your Recoletta. But even then, in terms of versatility, versatility. Just because some characters like the AC collab don't use Moxie, you can still support the AC collab characters with Melania, but you can't really say that about Moldir. So in terms of like universal ultimate based supports, Melania will be still better than Moldir. And I'm not just saying that because I love Melania, but Melania is just way more universal as a ultimate support, and she's definitely more accessible to get. You can get her on the Euphoria banner that has a guaranteed pity at 70, or you could potentially lose to Melania in the future in one of your 50-50s. Pulling for Moldir may cost you up to 140 pulls for a character that might not be able to fit into many teams. So that's why even if you don't have Melania or Pickles for Recoleta, I would still kind of be wary about pulling Moldir for your Recoleta teams. So for most people, I unfortunately don't recommend pulling Moldir if you care about meta. She is not really a character that sees much use at later stages of Reveries, and the stages that you do see her in can be cheesed, or she can be replaced by other ultimate damage dealers or supports. As for me, I will try to get Moldir on both accounts just because there is future potential, but at the same time, I have Lopera on both accounts and I just want them both together. So yeah, that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.